is future's biggest startup nation. We have India's startup ecosystem presenting last but not least. We have Chahat from KPMG India that is responsible to support the growth of startup ecosystem in India and provide support structure for Startup India. Chahat is economic growth specialist at KPMG India. While he joins, I would like to share some insight about the startup ecosystem of India. It's South Asia's top-ranking startup ecosystem. When it comes to number of Y Combinator startups and unicorns, it's the top third in the world. When it comes to tech public company capitalization, impact of exits above $1 billion, and Pantheons, it's the top 8th in the world. It is also top 10 in education tech. It's also top 15 in the world when it comes to transportation, e-commerce, retail, food tech, and fintech. India is one of the world's largest producers of actually so many things that I would need probably another minute or two to count them all, because especially in agriculture, with over 50% of its population below the age of 25 and more than 65% below the age of 35, India has one of the youngest populations in the world. This presents an enormous potential workforce and consumer base. And it's estimated that in the next 7 years, 40% of India's population will live in urban areas. As of 2022, India had over 50,000 startups with over 50 unicorns, startups basically valued at over $1 billion, with companies like AgroStar, Dehat, Ninja Cart. The agri-tech sector has seen significant innovation, leveraging technology to streamline agricultural processes, improve supply chains, and offer even farmers in far remote villages real-time market insight. The Indian government has launched Startup India to promote and support the startup ecosystem, including many different initiatives, tax holidays, fast-tracking patent applications, and offering research grants. Cities like Bangalore, which is in the top 8 in the world, Mumbai and Hyderabad have become major startup hubs with numerous incubators, accelerators, and venture capitalists actively fostering the growth of the ecosystem. Chahat, it's great to have you. Thank you for your time. I know it's very late. You're probably the only person in the company left. So I really appreciate the time. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mahmood. It's a pleasure to always talk to you, and greetings to Ali. And then hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening to everyone from different parts of the world. So I represent Startup India, and definitely it's an interesting story to be told about. And I've been associated with this program from last three and a half years. So I'll just pull up my presentation. So. Yeah, I think just show the entire screen. Yes, so essentially, when we talk about Startup India, we we had this vision which was set by our Honorable Prime Minister back in 2016, that startups, needless to mention, are the new kind of wealth creators, and they will form the backbone of our economy. And so to say, when we fast forward from 2016 to 2023, it completely fills us with a lot of immense pride that we have now come to be known as one of the largest startup ecosystems in the world. And there was a time when we did not really even talk about, say, unicorn or say investments. And today India is featuring in almost not just any all rankings, so to say, but also practically when we talk about startup ecosystems. And that is what happened, in 2016 when we actually had Startup India initiative. Before that, we didn't have a structured approach. We did not have a definition, so to say. We realized that it's important to recognize and appreciate the startup ecosystem and build foundational pillars to uplift and to develop the same. And we knew that the journey won't be that easy. And with that background, we actually launched this whole program, what we call as Startup India. And the result which we see today is absolutely immense, incredible, and keeps us motivated. We are almost touching 100,000 startups. And the beauty of this ecosystem of ours is that it's very inclusive and very diverse. So we are not just centered around, say, the larger metros or sub metros. We are spread all across. And also in terms of gender diversity, we are again, more almost now 50% of the startups have at least one woman director, and they are of course creating a lot of jobs and applying for patents. So the whole the diversity of this program is something which is very interesting, and it's not so to say centralized when we talk about the impact of it. Now what we have done, the numbers which we saw in the previous slide, is a result of certain innovative interventions which we have taken in the past few years. And these are just pillars of that. For example, we first try to understand that who do we call a startup, who do we call as an investor, and what do we really need to do to make it easier for investors to invest, for startups to startups, so on and so forth. Then we launched an action plan. We understood that to actually manage a program like Startup India, we actually need to work like a startup. So we launched an action plan which had 19 clearly defined pillars as to this is what we need to do. And today, we are actually executing all 19 of them. Then we had to decentralize this entire movement of Startup India. And for that, we actually launched a ranking. And this is probably one of its kind federal ranking of regional startup ecosystems. This actually activated Startup India all across the country. And finally, of course, there is National Startup Advisory Council, which our honorable union minister himself chairs, wherein you have the private startup ecosystem and also the government stakeholders sitting on the table and talking as to what we really need to do to build a comprehensive startup ecosystem. Just a summary of different programs we actually execute on day-to-day basis. So this is essentially our day job. So we help startups with funding. We do a lot of stakeholder engagements. We also continuously engage with other line ministry and departments for regulatory and ease of doing business matters. We provide a lot of public procurement support to our startups as well. All of this, what I'm talking about, is easily accessible and available in detail on startupindia.gov.in. Our complete program is 100% online, and this is something which we do on day to day basis. Now, what makes this program very different, and how do we manage such a mammoth program, are essentially the way the whole program is managed and governed, so to say. Like I mentioned, everything is completely digital. We have a lot of AI in place. So, for example, if a startup gets recognized, then automatically other line ministry and departments, anybody on the planet can check its authenticity, its up to date certificate, so on and so forth. We have a young team. It's a program which is actually run like a startup, and that's what's makes us all excited to wake up every morning and to give it our best shot every single day. Then we also do a lot of softer elements to build capacity and awareness. We are a 1.44 billion population, so it's very important that we go to every corner of the town, build capacity of all stakeholders, not just investor and startups, also of the government stakeholder, also of the academia, of incubators. So we continuously engage in these capacity building exercises. Then we also provide a lot of international opportunities to our startup ecosystem players. For example, we are taking a delegation to Slush, which is happening very soon. We took our delegation to Reflect, which happened in Cyprus. We also take a very large delegation to VivaTech also, which happened in France. We took one delegation to Expo 2020 Dubai. So we do a lot of these measures to ensure that our startups and different players get exposure to best of the ecosystem across the globe. And of course, there are a lot of media activities, a lot of promotion we do. We have a dedicated a program on national television which we host for our startup, so to say. And most importantly, all of our program is completely digital. It's faceless. It's completely paperless. Nobody has to visit us on the table. All of our schemes, all of our programs, all of our selection mechanism, everything is run through something called a Startup India Hub. It's a website which we have as startupindia.gov.in. It's a website which is integrated with other regional websites or regional startup hubs as well. So which ensures that this is one-stop shop, one-stop portal for anything and everything to do with startup ecosystem. That's all. I could not see the time, but I hope I was on track, Mahmood.
Yes, indeed. That was very informative. I know that it was very fast because there's so much insight and so many initiatives, programs. Without this support structure, there wouldn't be over 50 unicorns in a matter of just a few years. And I know that with this pace, India's startup ecosystem will be the biggest startup nation in the world. Thank you so much once again, and I guess looking forward to see you in Slash.